Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I think it's safe to say we need to have a serious conversation about the 5 Kage in the Boruto era now that the unthinkable has happened in the last Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter, which is the involvement of the Boruto era Kage in the matter of Boruto Uzumaki. Normally, this would be the moment where I say Shinju DNA is love, Shinju DNA is life because Hashirama sells, or grab those ramen bowls for this newest Naruto Explained discussion. But ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a somber discussion because there are nuggets of information in the lore that has me thinking that whoever Boruto's defense attorney is, whether it be class rep or whether it be Sarada, they're going to be in for one rough time trying to keep this man from getting his head cut off, to a point where I'm likely going to have the thumbnail for this video drawn by the channel artist, either with Boruto on the executioner's block under a guillotine, or Boruto sitting at the witness stand with Shikamaru as the judge, Kawaki as the prosecutor, Sarada as the defense attorney, and Boruto crying like a baby holding some prayer beads that have Hagoromo's face on them, because that's about the only thing that's about to save this man. So why exactly should we have a conversation taking a look at Boruto's current situation and asking, should the 5 Kage be involved, or are they being involved in this matter now that Boruto's been arrested? Well, the answer is pretty simple. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the very moment you bring the 5 Kage together, because Boruto's capture in the universe, it is a really big deal. And I do believe the narrative, it has been teeing up for this moment for a while now, if we're being honest here. So allow me to back things up a bit and allow me to explain what I mean, because the seeds, they have been set for a 5 Kage summit as far back as the end of Boruto Part 1, and we never got the payoff for it. But now I think that payoff, it is here at long last. So let me paint the picture for you, right? So when we go back to Boruto Naruto Next Generations, in the chapter where Kawaki killed Boruto, and the chapter right after that where he's boxing up Code, he's slapping around like he's Jigen, and Code is Naruto and Sasuke, there was a line that was dropped in the story that can be so easy to overlook because it was buried beneath all that deeply emotional weight of the scene at hand. While Kawaki's fighting against Code, on his way to killing him, but not being quite able to finish the job. And you had Shikamaru correctly telling Naruto, hey man, if we team up right now with Kawaki, we can kill Code and we can finish off our biggest threat, or at least the biggest threat that they knew of at that moment in time. And while that was going on, there was this gut-wrenching scene that was taking place and unfolding. Naruto, a man who grew up an orphan and without a family, was now holding the dead body of his firstborn child, the son born after a night on top of the Hokage monument where reason gave way to passion and Naruto first tasted juices that didn't belong to a cup of instant ramen, and 9 months later out popped Boruto, and Naruto was holding that kid and his whole world, it was spiraling out of control. The weight of those Hokage robes that were on his shoulders that he was wearing, they were bearing down on him. It was his dream job, the job he always wanted. It was his duty as Hokage to help Kawaki fight off Code, the threat to his village that he was protecting, a threat to the entire ninja world, yet he was unable to move. But not just because of the invisible weight of the Hokage cloak. It was because of the trauma and the shock that came from holding his child, his firstborn child's dead body in his arms while he screamed and mumbled and blubbered in disbelief at what was happening, had tears in his eyes as a result, asking Shikamaru, was this even real? For the entirety of Boruto Part 1, Naruto struggled to find that balance between being a father and being Hokage, and prior to that moment, the whole world, it had told him, including his best friend Sasuke, the man who Naruto saved from the darkness. He had the nerve to look Naruto in the face and say, you need to kill your son. And Naruto, for a moment, got flashbacks to that final valley and said, Sasuke, I'm gonna take your other arm if you keep talking to me like that. His son was too big of a threat to be left alive, and he needed to make a decision. Naruto knew he needed to make a decision, knew that his son was a threat, but he couldn't bring himself to kill him. Yet in that very moment, he was robbed of even being able to make the decision that he owed Boruto as a parent, because Kawaki made the decision for him that Boruto needed to die, and upon hearing Kawaki's reasoning, a scared Boruto agreed to allow Kawaki to kill him. Naruto, a man who had fought aliens with the power to destroy entire solar systems. He had stared down monsters of the ugliest kind and humans who abused him as a child, the worst kind of monsters he's ever faced, to facing MILF mommy alien goddesses like Kage. Naruto was unable to leave his son's side in that moment, too shocked to move, and arms that were too heavy to lift up the lifeless body of his dead child. 33 years of suffering and enduring, it had finally caught up to him, and in that one moment, Shikamaru told him, "You have a Hokage duty that you need to see through. You cannot afford to be a father here. You are not holding the dead body of your son. You are holding the dead body of a Konoha shinobi who gave his life to protect the village, and you are dishonoring that sacrifice by not setting him down and killing the threat to the village that exists." He told Naruto, who was so grief-stricken that he couldn't even maintain his sage mode, that he needed to man up because they needed to assemble the 5 Kage when this was all over, while Naruto didn't care. And that moment with the 5 Kage, it was never shown. That line, it was dropped for a reason. It was a reminder to us as the audience that the Kage, they have a treaty in place. Part of them not going out to hunt down the other Biju and seal them into people who could be Jinchuriki if they were compatible and just start dropping Biju nukes on each other, and they carry out a purge to get rid of useless shinobi like Kiba and Dinky. It wasn't just because of that agreement not to fight each other. It was also the understanding that they would share all data and intel when it came to Otsutsuki level threats, because they understood there were threats out there that were larger than any of the petty squabbles of nation against nation. If they were divided again like they were in the past under the past leadership, they would have been picked off a lot easier against a threat because they would not have been united. In the days after that, we never saw that Kage summit because there wasn't time for it. We had Code invade Konoha shortly afterwards. Boruto was obviously brought back to life. Kawaki sent Naruto and Hinata on an all-expenses-paid honeymoon, and Kawaki stole Boruto's life, and he made him a rogue ninja wanted for the murder of Naruto and Hinata. That battle with Code alone, it was enough for a 5 Kage summit, but now he was the supposed murderer of Naruto. That is something that the other Kage want answers to when it comes to Boruto, because even after Naruto lost Kurama, he was still stronger than the other Kage. And when you add in Sasuke, who went and aided Boruto, the boy they believe was responsible for Naruto's death, you now have a situation where they have another shinobi that is stronger than them out there to worry about, on top of having to deal with Code. In Chapter 6 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we learn via Shikamaru's conversation with the elders that the other Kage, they were getting impatient with Konoha. Shikamaru still hadn't officially become Hokage, and they had issues with Boruto now that he had reappeared. It was letting us as the audience know that the other Kage knew of what happened, and they planted the seeds in our minds that the other Kage would be coming at some point. It was then further shown to us that the other Kage had an active role in the 3-year time skip, because we see Boruto hiding from the stone or the sand village ninjas who were hunting him down. In that 3-year time skip, 20 of them were surrounding his location, closing the net on him, and Boruto was so desperate that he was even thinking of crossing a line he would never be able to recover from, killing innocent people in self-defense, which is why Kashin Koji stepped in to save him. The Kage, they were sending out shinobi to hunt Boruto to answer for the crime of killing one of their own. What do you think is going to happen now that they learn Boruto's been captured? Konoha isn't the only village that's going to want answers, especially since none of the other villages even know what happened to Sasuke. As far as they know, Sasuke is still out there in the wild as a threat, having years of information on each of the ninja villages, including passcodes to the barriers that surround their villages in order to enter them, because Sasuke was given free reign to move through the other villages during the blank period as he investigated Kaguya's dimensions and all clues that were connected to Kaguya. They're going to want answers, and this might be too big of a moment to just sit there and go, let's get on a ninja Zoom call and let's have a meeting. Hey, Shikamaru, make sure to have Dinky get on stream. That way he can stream the interrogation of Boruto via Ninjagram Live so we can all tune in. This might warrant the Kage hopping on that thunder train and writing down personally for this one. That's gonna force Shikamaru's hand right now. It's not just the people of Konoha who want Boruto's head. It's the entire ninja world itself, which speaks volumes to how beloved Naruto was as Hokage. I cannot stress that enough. And just as a figure in the history of the ninja world itself, when it's all said and done, Naruto might very well be this mythological being the way the Sage of Six Paths was when you get 1,000 years into the history of the ninja world itself. This is one of those inflection point moments where things, they will never be the same moving forward after this. Obviously, we know Boruto survives this whole thing. The flash forward sequence tells us as much, but the conflict comes from, we don't know how he gets out this situation. It looks grim right now. This interrogation of Boruto, it is important because it goes back to the 5 Kage summit point earlier and their treaty. Their own petty squabbles as humans. It is not as important as everything else that we've seen unfold here. It's dramatic irony at play. That's what makes it so beautiful. We as the audience know that not only do they have Jura and the other 3 awakened shinju out there to worry about, as well as Code, who's out there in the wilderness looking for a new meaning of life, or he's training with Scooby-Doo and Sonic the Hedgehog and Yogi Bear and the Teen Titans before he comes back to Konoha to say he's got to finish his story to honor his dead daddy Ishiki, but also the fact that there's another shinju that has been awakened, one that Boruto doesn't yet know exists at this point in the timeline. The other Kage have to be made aware of the coming threat, and Boruto is the only one who can do so, and this is the only trump card he has left to play to keep them from killing him. They need Boruto a lot more than Boruto might need them, and it's because Boruto has intel on what they're dealing with. They have to rethink their entire strategy from this point onward. He is essentially in a position to do what Amato is notorious for doing, only instead of making the problem intentionally, to come back and say, hey, that really sucks that you got this horrible stain in the carpet, but I got the right thing to get the stain out. I'm just not going to tell you that I'm responsible for the stain being there in the first place, the way that like Amato will purposely do in order to make himself inexpendable. Boruto's literally in that position where they cannot do without him, because he is the only one that they have right now who has extensive knowledge on the threat that they're facing, and he's the strongest person they have to go against them outside of Damon. But based on everything we've seen so far with Damon, as long as he's resting on those soft long legs of Ada and he's watching Baby Shark go doop 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 and Paw Patrol, this man is not getting up anytime soon to fight someone unless he has to. Literally, the only fights that we saw him have is when Code attacked him and it was self-defense, and he decided to be a little mush-faced menace and start bullying Boruto and Kawaki, which I forever love him for that. This is where it gets extremely interesting. Kawaki did all this work to have it easier for Boruto to be killed, and this is the very moment he was building towards since chapter 80 of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, and he is now right back in the exact spot that he was in Boruto Naruto Next Generations chapter 79, right before he cast omnipotence. That's the irony of it. He's learning that it wasn't because Boruto was just Naruto's son that people weren't going to be able to kill him. That was a major component in it, and if you just say Kawaki is right for that reason, you're not wrong. He's technically right, but it wasn't the only reason that Boruto was not going to be killed. Boruto's just one of those characters, just like the father whose nutsack he came out of. He's one of those characters that has this uncanny ability to serve as a star that pulls people into its orbit, the same way that the sun does with other planets in our solar system. You might not see it right away and you might not understand why, but it's there and it's happening. Boruto has made himself into the sun for the ninja world, just as Mitsuki is shown looking into the sun that is Boruto to be the sun to his moon. Just as the solar system can't support life without the sun, the ninja world is now in a spot where it cannot survive without Boruto, and Boruto has become the sun to the ninja world. He's replaced his father in that regard, which is almost as poetic as this anime explain video on the left that you should definitely check out to support my other channel, or this Naruto explain video that YouTube has selected for you to watch. So click here, and remember, Shinju DNA is love, Shinju DNA is life.